Hi, Andrea Waddell here. Welcome to the studio. Today's video, I am going to take these four paintings on boards and work at resolving all four of them at the same time and show you in that process how I am approaching creating consistency in my style. I hope you get something from watching this video. If you are interested in taking classes with me, head on over to workshops.andreawaddell.com. There's all kinds of stuff going on there. And if you haven't subscribed already to my channel, go ahead and do that. And we're going to jump in. That I do when I'm working is I always have either a slop board when I'm working or I'm teaching. Either it's a slop board, it's kind of something that I call a slop board, something where I'm just like using it to throw extra paint down on, and I have all kinds of things going on at various stages of completion kind of all the time. And right now I am working on larger work and creating a body of work from this larger square format 36 by 36 series of paintings. So I thought kind of to just continue to flex the muscle and show you the way I'm doing it by pulling things that are in all kinds of stages and going all kinds of different directions into something that's consistent. That will help you see how I'm doing it, and for me it is kind of workshopping ideas for the larger paintings. So these are all over the place. This was something that I did in the south of France. It's acrylic. I've just glued a little collage element down because it's an acrylic. It was kind of going in the way of a landscape, but I want all of these to be abstractions. This was one that I was working on just getting rid of paint from a painting session, just moving it around, and I happen to like that shape. I think that's kind of cool. This one has been sitting around for a couple years, and it's got all this creepy texture, but cool colors. I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to do there. This one was a lucky accident, and some of these are on these wood panels. But this one, it was a piece of painting, and I somehow managed to rip off the skin, the top skin of the painting, and glued this down onto a cold wax painting, and I like what's going on there. So even though it might be creating confusion to work on these four things at the same time, and I might start to hyper-focus on one and move the others out of the way. But I like the idea of starting with all four, and then I'll probably frame these if they work well, and then that becomes a body of work. Something else that I do, which is maybe a little chaos-inducing, but I have all of my toys out here in front of me because a part of my process in the studio is I see something, I grab, I work. I'm in that emotional, intuitive place. See, grab, pull in, try, and experiment, and that is kind of what kickstarts my creativity. And even though sometimes it's a little stressful, it's the way it happens for me. Some other people like to be very organized. If I try to be, super step-by-step organized, I will not get to the same type of result that I'll get to when I kind of have this phase of grab and try. Grab, try, see what happens, resolve. So that's kind of where I am at right now. Let me think about this for a second. So these are all very, very different things. So I think what I'll start by doing is, because I'm using Arna pigment sticks, I'm going to use their medium with dryer, and I'm going to put that on some of these so that it dries faster. because drying time with Arnak pigment stick depends on a lot of things. It depends on the color of the pigment. It depends on the substrate itself, whether it's going to absorb things or not. It depends on heat. It depends on all kinds of things, but what I have noticed is that putting this dryer on it, this medium with dryer, really speeds up the drying time. And it's got a little bit of cobalt and a little bit of manganese in it, but it's evaporated by the time you open up your little container. And so it's kind of technically solvent free. I'm going to put that across all of them, even though some of this isn't dry yet. So I'm kind of picking it up. This one's an acrylic, so I don't really need to do anything to it. And see, the first thing I guess where I'm going to start with, because this is starting to look like a landscape, I'm going to need to remove that. Because the landscapes for me currently that I'm working on are large scale. I've done enough small ones. So these are transparent colors, which I absolutely love working with. You can just get these glorious glazes. Look at that. It was starting to, oh look, if I pull that across here, I'm going to just get these all of them to talk to each other somehow. And kind of follow. Bright jewel-like quality. That's what I love about these glazes. And then this one is all by itself. Doesn't really, well, we could pull that across. This one has such creepy texture, and by creepy I mean lumpy and ugh. Because it was a slop board, it's not very good quality. Oh, it's actually a gesso board, but it's got so many layers of cold wax and God knows what from various demonstrations, that this one, it might need marble dust, and it probably will, to smooth it out, and probably some cold wax. All right. So at this point, I'm just going to look at color, shape, and it's hard to kind of jump into play once a lot of things are already working. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by subtraction. And by that I mean removing distractions. Ugh. Kind of taking away these landscape-like shapes. These little mountains or whatever I thought I was doing. This one is all kind of the same value. This one has creepy texture. And this has an interesting element here. And that's all I can see. colors is this neutral, unbleached titanium. It makes the most amazing color. Subtle color. All right, just gonna I'm not going to work with this blue color, so I think I'm going to get rid of it. I want to say something too about safety. It's actually really important. Even though I'm using RNF pigment sticks, and RNF pigment sticks, they are made up of pure pigment, powder, linseed oil, and natural wax. If a safety precaution is, I use these blue shop towels all the time, but if I have it crunched up like this and I put it in the trash, this could combust and turn into a fire because it'll heat up. So I just spritz, it's a good idea, just sort of safety. Either I put my stuff into a metal container like that, anti-flammable, that I have in the studio, or I have my spritzer, I can put it in the trash and spray water at it, just to stay on the extra safe side. This also has some creepy texture. And by creepy texture, what I mean is, I don't want to have to necessarily deal with it. So it's got these, like, I pulled these lines, I'm not sure what I was doing. So if I decide down the line I don't like that and I don't want it, I will use my cold wax and some marble dust and come on top of it with some flat texture. I'll show you that in a minute. I have a feeling this one's going to be very difficult to work with. Very old painting, and even if it's this old, I can still scrape in. What I'm trying to do is remove this image because it's distracting me. So I've got it into just this messy stage. I like the way these flicks just came over here. Okay. All right, now kind of integrating that collage. Trying to integrate this image into it. This is a huge mess over here, but I'm going to challenge myself to keep that there, even though it's tough. I think what I'm going to do, cut off some of my pigment stick. This is a beautiful dioxide purple. I'm going to, where is that? Yellow, where is that color that I like? I guess what I'll just use is this. This is a whole can of one of my favorite colors, which is Gamblin's Cool White. And I did not know they come in a can, which is pretty amazing. So I use a lot of it. So grab some of that, make a light purple with it. Wow, that purple is so densely pigmented. That was a lot of white, and it's still it's not the pale purple that I wanted. It's very purpley. I'm going to use it anyway. Some wax. Off of here. I want a subtler color than that. So I'm going to have a lot of neutral white. Mush it up. I like that color. I'm making sure that I have at least some of the same colors across all of these, so that there's some sort of, color consistency. These two are starting to come together a little bit. I don't like that line. So I'm trying to have a variation of texture on this one. So what I like that's happening here is that we have an area that's very flat and kind of a little bit dull next to all of these other, variations and changes, and I think that looks good next to each other. This is so flat next to this, that's nice and textured. Because I have a little win there, I'm going to try to bring that win over here. So I have something that's very flat here. We'll bring a little bit of texture right next to it. Okay, so I knew before I even started that this was going to be the problem. These two are going to be sort of problem children. I might have to relinquish my desire to fix this one, but I'm going to keep trying. The reason that this is a problem is because there's so much lumpy texture. It's all the same texture. And the result I'm getting from these that I like better is that there are areas of flat. So I can have contrast in texture. I just lifted this up and that blue was distracting. All right. I like what's happening with this one too, but there's almost too much going on. This, and maybe I'm going to edit out all of this. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm putting down color, and then I'm going to see, maybe in this painting session or in the next one, what stays and what needs to leave. So much of painting is decision making. I find at the end of a painting day, I'm tired, and I always feel like, why would you be tired? You were just out there playing, but actually what you're doing is you're constantly deciding. I'm constantly looking, I'm deciding, do I need to add, do I need to edit, do I need to scrape back, does this shape work, do I need a line, is this coherent, is there any balance here, is there too much, not enough? It's a lot. Okay, this is. Because the background was so dark, I'm kind of made a decision to go lighter rather than darker. I have to be able to step back from these things. So critical when you're working on your painting is to step back from it so that you can see what you're doing. And I like these two. I like where they're going. What's happening here is, as much as I like this little shape here, when I started, it'll be better if I get rid of it. If I lose this shape, it'll be a more balanced composition. So I'm going to start by getting rid of that shape. And the other one, I like these lines. I think these are interesting. I'm not sure if the top integrates well enough with the bottom. But the first thing I'm going to do, the first correction when I lift and I look, is to get rid of that shape. And I want to do something with a neutral color. So it's sort of this, it's kind of a grain. What grain was that? Oh, I hope I have it in a pigment stick shape. Yes, I do. What I love about this neutral white is, let's say if I mixed this Viridian in with this blue, it's going to make a beautiful color, but it's not going to be a tint, it's going to change the value of the color. Let me show you what I mean. Wouldn't it be so great if I didn't lose things right in front of my own eyeballs? Where did my palette knives go? Oh, God. Oh, I make myself crazy. Right here, or organized. I have to be organized because when I'm in flow, I can be all over the map. Okay, so watch what happens. If I take this Viridian and I mix some with this beautiful cool white, it's going to change that value. It's going to get lighter. That's a nice color. But if I put that on there, it's not going to work. I don't think it will anyway. It needs to be a little bit dirtied. But that makes, it needs to be a tint, not a value shifted color. Of course, that's such a good color, I want to use it. All right, no. Okay. What I've done here too is that even though that landscape was kind of coming along and it could have been great, it's little by little learning to sacrifice something that's sort of working because it's not consistent and it's not going in the direction of a body of work that you want to create. Sort of repeat similar styled paintings in the same format, which is as you kind of try to move into the art world, that's what needs to happen. So you can see that's our Viridian green, but it's a tint. So it's slightly colored and slightly lightened versus this color. If you can see that there, my messy palette. So I want that to be even more. Come in. Even more. And even if you can see how much I'm putting down, this is still a lighter value with the cool white. It's a bright, bright white. All right, I'm not going to do anything. All right. I'm going to do too light. Too light. Better. I bet there's some Prussian blue in that. Prussian blue, where are you? It's either a Payne's gray or a Prussian blue. I could try this darker green. To it. Try to get closer to that color. A little bit closer. That's got some yellow in it, I can see. Too light. I'm trying to remove this shape because this shape is going in this direction. So I want to let it do its thing. And I don't want to lose some of that flat stuff, this sort of flat area that I was talking about earlier. Okay, now when I'm looking up close, the next thing, distraction area, is this little piece right here. Is there too many colors? Just remove that. There we go. That way we can see that light a little bit better. So as you get closer to things working, what I'm looking at is if there's something I like, I want to make sure that we're looking at it. And what I like, why am I insisting on using this brush? So awful. I'm like, oh, I gotta use this brush. I gotta make this work for me somehow. No, in the trash, cheap brush. Okay, so what I like is, I like that line because it's weird, it's incongruous, it's just, you kind of look at it and you're like, what's that doing there? But it actually fits. Kind of a, you know, I like that. That sort of, when you're looking at an abstract of, oh wow, that's weird, and yet it fits. It's kind of how I feel in life sometimes. Do I fit in? Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. So now I'm taking similar colors, just a splash of light on that. And then this shape is not beautiful. I can move that. Now I'm like following the direction. And I'm seeing these two shapes are the same size. It's kind of like as you get into it, oh, where's all that purple? Ah. As the more you start looking at it, the better you can see. Which is, I had a feeling I wasn't going to be able to just like get through all of these at the same time. I like that little, piece of light there. These are kind of now coming down at the same, sort of the same size. I wonder if this became a triangle. Yeah, that needs to be dealt with. Just pulling this across a little bit. So the shape, rather than being just the same as this, it's actually this over here. No. I wanted something a little bit darker down here, but the little dot idea didn't work. Oh, I like that. No. This is the thing, when you start following your intuition, you get into a certain zone and you just trust your gestures. I'm going to leave that alone for a while, put it back over here. As much as I like this little thing, I've kind of just gotten rid of it. Unfortunately, it's okay. This one now. I hate to lose that beautiful sky, but I'm going to take the risk. This is my favorite part of it, and perhaps this is a fun way to work with art and Pigment 6, because I want to keep it light. I want to just blend it in. Basically, I want this to be one indistinct shape. I don't want it to be landscapey like. I'm gonna have to lift and look at that and see if I can make that, allow that to work like that. No. I can do that if if it lives somewhere else too. That's so beautiful, I wanna get rid of that. But if I find it over here also, at least there's some sort of coherent thing. This one over here. Oh, it's now like two separate paintings. That's tricky. It's two separate types of work. So I think what I'm going to have to do, lighten that up. Kind of a light touch with it. So it doesn't look like these are two different types of painting languages. Maybe I lighten that piece up. Let's see what that does. Maybe tone it down a little bit. I'm not sure if I can get that with my brush. I can see I'm kind of building these things in thirds. Here's 1/3, here's 1/3, here's 1/3, so I'm going to break it up. Abstract composition is. There, that's better. Fold that in. I'm trying to integrate the parts and pieces of this. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I think what will pull this together is if I, where's my dioxide purple? There it is. I should probably wait and do a glaze on this, but I do think that having another part of this that has some darker value is going to help pull it together. Maybe not that shape. Not too much. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that helps. So I got as far as I could for today with these two, and was thinking along the lines of coherency, abstraction, shapes, interesting lines, interesting variations, and got them changes in value without it being heavy-handed, and have given myself two things to think about and to work with, and I hope you got something from watching this video. And if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that, and we'll see you next time.